Chief Consulting Editor, Stav Cohen, former IDF Special Forces from Tel Aviv, Adel Nazarian, Foreign Policy Analyst from Washington, Sierra Claire. She's a foreign policy expert and host of the 11 o'clock hour podcast. Joining us from Los Angeles, from Moscow, Tatiana, familiar face for all our viewers tonight. She's joining us tonight. Omer Anas, Associate Professor at Ankara, the Bayazit University, and Burzin Wagmar, Center for Iranian Studies at SOAS in London. Burzin, I want to start with you. How's it going, you think, how's it going? I mean, give us your view of what the Iranian mood is like today, the mood in Iran.
I think it's going brilliantly for the last 48 hours, Arnab, which you put to Mr. Marmerstein. For the the coalition forces, Iran's crown jewels have been vaporized. The S-400 batteries, which were supposed to be, which were delivered in 2016, they've gone. The HQ-9B air defense ring of around metropolitan Tehran, completely inactivated. Intelligence ministry honchos of every sectional head has been taken out, not to mention the IRGC Command and Control Center, and this is just 48 hours. You asked about what is Iran's strategy. Let me come to that now. Its delusionary strategy is based on this sheer notion of pain that they can take in with notions of millenarian martyrdom. But they feel that by this scattergun approach, they can rope in the GCC allies who would in turn nervously turn to Trump, asking him to come back to the negotiation table because they can't take hits or boots on the ground and the rest of it. Overnight, Abu Dhabi has stiffened Trump's spine, which explains a lot about Secretary Hexed's spitting blood narrative that you just saw delivered as a lecture. Likewise with MBS in Saudi Arabia, not to mention Bahrain and others who are determined this time that they will not be putting up with this existential threat to them since 1979. And that is a patent fact that turning the page on this regime and going all the way, and yes, you can do it even without boots on the ground, because a certain critical mass momentum is going to develop, as Trump pointed out, where the people will come out. They have been coming out in previous revolts, even at the cost of being shot in cold blood. What makes you think they won't do it again? And this was the last cycle of violence which we saw in December, January 2025. They will do it again. And this is what Trump has enthused them to do. You forget that there are Kurdish and Baloch outfits who are also Iranian, ethno-linguistically Iranian, albeit Sunni minorities, who have lent their hand to the moral force of Iranian protesters, and they publicly announced Kurdish and Baloch outfits in Western Iran and Southeast Iran that we stand with the Iranian people. And these are peripheral sensitive regions for the regime. So a critical mass is building up. Please remember, it took a year for the last Shah to leave from Jan 78 to Jan 79, and we are barely into 48 hours, and I think we are doing a swimmingly good job of it.
All right, Burzin, very strong words out there, but very strong words.
And facts.
And facts, as you say, I don't doubt your facts. Why are you smiling, Adele? You see, I take a different view. I'm not going to get into conflict here with my friend Burzin. But Tatiana, what happened to Russia? How can Russia look the other way anymore? It's going to be short-sighted for Russia to say, oh, we are going to be a substitute to Iran in global oil supply. That's not the way Putin should look at it. You see, I don't know what Russia is celebrating. Tatiana, what is Russia celebrating? The Kremlin envoy Kirill Dmitriev gloats on X, $100 per oil per barrel soon, exclamation mark. Why? What is he celebrating? Is this about oil? Why? I wonder sometimes what has happened to Moscow? What has happened to Moscow, Tatiana? Moscow, one minute, everyone on. Moscow was a country that used to punch over its weight. The Moscow I know would not sit there, look the other way, as Trump said, I'm going to take Greenland next, I'm going to take Cuba next, I'm going to demolish Mexico. And it's not as if he's not doing it, he's going ahead and doing it. He's wagging his finger in the air. And, you're dependent on the Strait of Hormuz too. If the closure of the Strait of Hormuz is going to affect you too, you're just going to let America take over global supply chains, then what happens to Russia? What happens to Moscow? Where is your leadership? Where is your involvement? Where is your president? Why is he quiet?
Well, Arnab,
Why is he quiet? No, you cannot. No, 1 minute. No, you say I don't want to be. Allow me to complete. You don't want to be militarily aligned, but I'm sorry, Tatiana. You're sounding like Switzerland. You're sounding like Switzerland in this. And Trump's enjoying it. Please.
Can I speak now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you know how leadership works? I'll tell you exactly how it works. Our president has conducted talks with every single leader of every single Gulf state today. This is exactly what leadership does. It discusses the events with fellow leaders. It does not operate in slogans. It does not operate like an abused child at a playground. And it doesn't rattle its sabers. That is what leadership is about, and that's what Russia's leadership has always been about. We don't participate in media stunts. So that...
You're again sounding like Switzerland.
And again...
You're again sounding like Switzerland.
I actually don't think so. I think what Tatiana is saying is very accurate.
Adele.
Russia's going to be fine. I think hi, Arnab, great to chat with you and Tatiana and the team. So essentially, I think that what's being done here is very calculated. I think it's a very intelligent way to. It hasn't been 48 hours, and I believe that it's one thing to have removed the head of the snake, so to speak, Ayatollah Khamenei, and his next in line. But at the end of the day, to allude to your earlier point, I do not believe this is going to escalate to a full-on World War III scenario. I really don't see that happening. First of all and foremost, I don't see America being able to successfully fight a two-front war. I mean, first we have what's going on in Eastern Europe, and then we have what's going on in the Middle East. It's just not feasible, and it's not something President Trump is going to allow to happen. And Israel, I don't think Russia wants that to happen. I think Russia is taking a seat back, and of course, I think Tatiana can allude to this better, address this better, because they're waiting to see what's going to happen next. I will make one more point that I think is really important to address here. All this work was done 47 years this regime has been in power. Not ironically, President Trump is the 47th president of the United States. It happened during Purim, which is historically the time when the Jews overcame Persia, the evil Persian Haman. So this is all symbolic. It's all very interesting timing of it all. But at the end of the day, what's going to come next is going to be absolutely indicative of what to expect. I don't see a future here a successful future here for anyone in the Middle East or beyond in the West, where there is a continuation of the current Islamic Republic.
Why is Burzin saying things are going swimmingly well?
It's going swimmingly well in terms of how it's been the past, 48 hours almost since it's occurred. But in terms of getting the accomplishment done, sticking to the plan, what happens in the next week, though? What happens in the next 6 months in particular? That's going to determine.
No. So let me go.
Very simple. Destabilization happens. That's exactly what this is about. This is not, again, we've discussed it yesterday and we'll discuss it again. This escalation, this attack, and again, look, listen to the American establishment. They're saying, we did not target Khamenei. This was the Israelis. The Israelis are going to bear the brunt for this attack. Right now, they're going to get because yes, Iran can target US bases, but we all can pretty much expect that with the amount of time that went into the preparation of this attack, there was an equal amount of time put into evacuation of American military personnel that they could evacuate so that they don't get hit, because everybody understands what Iran is going to do once attacked. So this is not about strategically waiting what's going to happen. And I appreciate the colorful pictures that were painted by our Iranian counterpart. I don't believe a single word of what he said. I don't believe in the fact that the so-called Iranian people goes into the streets tomorrow and topples the government. Yeah. It just does not look this way. I am sorry, but this attack...
But that was the whole game plan, isn't it? Sierra, the whole game plan was this video game. Was this video game planned by Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance, and Donald Trump, who said, we are going to move in, we are going to send a couple of aircraft carriers, intimidate these guys, play a psychological operation.
But that's not true, Arnab. It's not a video game.
But the point is, for what end? For what end is my question.
The end result will be, look, at the end of the day.
For what end?
The strategy from Pete Hegseth and from President Trump was not to play, you know, as you said, kind of play out a game here. It was to use American military force to ensure that the Iranians knew who they were dealing with. This is not Obama. This is not Biden. This is Trump. We will use military force if necessary. They didn't get the message from the giant naval armada buildup and the repeated statements by President Trump. So we have gone now to military force. And to answer your question, to what end? They said very clearly in the press conference this morning, destroying the ballistic missile capabilities, destroying Iran's nuclear program, keeping them from trying to move it underground or rebuild it, and destroying the terror proxies that have been killing American forces.
But Sierra, my question to you, when the man-child Hegseth takes the stage, does he realize how much he embarrasses himself? For all this while, Saurabh, and you don't like what I'm saying, you don't like sort of what I'm saying, Stab, you don't like, but he is behaving like a man-child who says democracy doesn't matter,